Well, tonight, violent criminals released early, putting you and your family in danger.
3 people, including a 7-year-old boy, were brutally murdered this summer in North Alabama after the parole board let a career criminal back on the street.
The shocking crimes prompted the governor to order a temporary ban on parole for violent criminals and order a plan to fix the broken system.
NBC 15's Andrea Ramey investigates what's being done to keep murderers behind bars where they belong. It's tonight's reality check.
Were you on Raven Drive on Saturday? Were you on Raven Drive?
When?
Even criminals think the system is a joke.
Did you know the victim?
Say what?
Did you know that he was
Say
a
that
father?
again?
Patrick Johnson was supposed to be behind bars when investigators say he shot and killed a man on Raven Drive last month. He'd been sentenced to 10 years in prison, but only served a few months. The 23-year-old is just one example of our catch and release system here in Alabama.
Huh?
The names on these pages each represent a horrible crime that happened in Mobile County. Now, each person listed, many of them murderers and rapists, could be released from prison early. Even though they've only served a fraction of their sentence, they're already up for parole.
It's getting ridiculous, just plain ridiculous.
Jamie Letson avoided arrest for decades, but was eventually convicted in 2010 for the 1980 murder of USA student Catherine Foster. Jurors sentenced her to life in prison, but now she's up for parole. So is Jaretha Lewis, who stuffed her baby in a trash bag and threw her away like garbage in 2007.
Literally over 100 examples of violent offenders who have served less than, in most cases, 1/10 of their sentence, and they're being eligible for parole.
Jimmy Spencer was supposed to be serving a life sentence, but 6 months after he was paroled, investigators say he savagely murdered 2 women and a 7-year-old little boy in Guntersville. He'd even been arrested for drug crimes and resisting arrest prior to the murders, but that still wasn't enough to send him back to prison.
I mean, that's inexcusable. We should never have that. How did we get to this point?
Disturbed by what's happening, lawmakers plan to take action and rein in some of the discretion the Pardons and Paroles Board has.
I think the parole board's abusing their discretion.
Pardons and paroles rules state violent offenders are supposed to serve 15 years or 85% of the sentence before even being considered for parole.
That's been their own guiding principles, but they've ignored those.
State Senator Cam Ward says if he gets his way, the board won't be able to ignore those rules anymore because the law will spell out how long murderers must stay behind bars.
You've got to serve at least a certain amount of time before you're going to get released.
How much time? Ward doesn't want to commit until he talks with more district attorneys and sheriffs across the state for input. The Pardons and Paroles Board declined our request for an interview and says it is in the process of preparing a corrective action plan for the governor.